Another world. Issei was born without any sacred gear. Not that he needed it, he wasn't even fully human and had no need for fate rivals or anything like that. His siblings were crazy even for supernatural standards, and that was enough. On top of that, there were two heavenly dragons that talked in his mind from time to time. See their story for yourself. IsseixHarem, OC. Chapter 1 AN. I'm not dead. Okay, with that start, hello everyone, welcome to my story. To those that are new here, it's great that you came and I hope that you'll like it. Maybe even write some positive review. To all those that read this story earlier, I'm terribly sorry. I'm sorry that revision and new chapter took so long. I blame here my laziness, real life, university, FGO and mind-controlling aliens. Also, I'm sorry that I made you read the previous version with all those grammar mistakes and all. Now, after my apologizes, I want to highlight user Laragas who beated it for me. Everyone big applause for him. Or at least a big smile. He has few Dota 2 stories on his profile and recently started with DXD, Dota crossover, so if it interests you, go check them out. Without any further unnecessary talk, let's get this show on the road and start all new, not all different story of half-breeds. Beated by Laragas. Albion out loud, telepathically. Diedrich out loud, telepathically, Electric and others. Issei Hyodo, a second-year student at the Kuo Academy, was sleeping in his bed. Unfortunately for him, his dreams were as far from peaceful as they get. The teenager was thrashing around, mumbling incoherent things. Sometimes, he would shout or groan in pain and grip the bedsheets painfully. Earlier he had problems drifting into the land of Morpheus. He was all distracted and giddy, thinking about the coming days. His time in school consisted of suffering through lessons, distracting himself with his usual peeking sessions and running away with his friends from the angry and violent victims of said activity. When he returned home, his thoughts were still occupied by the fact that in 2 days his siblings were supposed to start coming to his home and bring with them noise, supernatural elements and undeniably trouble. Of course, Issei was happy to see them again, but at the same time, he wasn't so sure about re-entering that more extraordinary side of the world just yet. After quite long and tiring nagging from a dragon inside his head, he tried to forget worrying about the future all night and finally tried to catch some sleep. But when you're thinking about something all day, there's a high chance of it coming back to you in your dreams. It ended up being a nightmare. A nightmare filled with flashbacks of what happened over 3 years ago. Things that made him back out of everything related to supernatural, dragons and all of that for a time being. In his slumber, Issei was again in the fog of war, with familiar voices screaming around him. Unbelievable pain flooded his mind while his body stuck in an incomplete transformation. The feeling of pain ended. But now Issei was hovering over the body in his younger self. He took a look around the scene. As dream went on, everything except for him blurred and the voices became muffled. Issei stood there, reliving what was one of the scary days of his life. DXD, wake up. Wake up. If you don't wake up, I'm going to kiss you. Out of the bedsheets, a hand lazily crawled and slammed alarm. After getting rid of the annoying sound, it quickly hid again and its owner stirred under the covers trying to go back to sleep. Get up, Issei. As much as I try to stop myself from saying, I told you so, it won't change the fact that you have to move out of bed and make yourself look at least half decent. His sleep was again interrupted by an ancient voice in his head. Another stir, this time accompanied by a pitiful groan. You've just said it, you stupid ass dragon. And I won't hear anything about sleeping from you. It's what you're doing for most of the time and every time when you're needed, so leave me be, Diedrich. Came the muffled voice under the pillow. The voice inside his head wasn't a sign of mental illness but the spirit of Diedrich Gok, Red Dragon Emperor, one of 2 heavenly dragons. I can let you be, but then I'll go talk to your mother and as, stupid ass dragon. I might accidentally slip and say that you're still laying around when you're supposed to prepare for school. And you wouldn't want that, would you? Diedrich said with smugness. Moment of silence, after which came rustling, when visibly scared person all but shoot on legs and hastily started preparing himself. He was average height teenager with spiky brown hair, which was right now in total chaos. His light brown eyes showed fear at the threat. You're a monster. A monster, you hear me? But at least you're not using my head for your bickerings with Albion, or I'd just hit my head until everything went black. Good thing he's mostly with Valley lately. the teenager said after grabbing a set of clothes and heading towards the bathroom to shake off remnants of the nightmare. If you hadn't stayed up for most of the night being nervous about everybody coming home, then you wouldn't be in this predicament. A true warrior should dominate his weaknesses, and I won't allow my. Stop right there. First of all, I haven't seen them for over a year. Hell, with Kat it has been almost 3 and he's showing up tomorrow. So it's perfectly normal to feel nervous. Second, I'm about to take a shower, so go back to sleep or something. Issei interrupted Diedrag's babble about being a warrior, strength and blah 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 yada yada. All he got was a murmur, then he finally got his peace and quiet. First things first, gotta do something to make me not look like shit. DXD, you look like shit. A bald guy commented. Making himself look decent didn't work out. Even after setting hair in his usual hairstyle he still had bloodshot eyes, not counting he was all sweaty and panting for the badly needed air. He only had a few minutes left to wear his uniform as fast as humanly possible, drop his parent short, grab his bento and ride on his bike at breakneck speed just to not be late. Right now he was standing before the entrance to Kuo Academy, a few minutes before lessons start. Look who's talking. You two look like you've been run over by a bus, or at least an angry mob. Issei shot back at his friend's jab. Actually it was an angry kendo club, not a mob. But close enough. Another guy rebutted. These were Matsuda and Motohama, Issei's friends, who, with him, were known to other students as the perverted trio. Both of them were in the standard Kuo uniforms and looked like they fought with a gorilla only to lose miserably. The trio mostly concerned themselves with watching porn, creeping everyone out with their loud perverted talks and peeping at girls in various situations. And while the last always ended in them getting beat up or trampled, it was never this close to death. Those two looked more like plums than humans. Can they even be humans to survive an onslaught like this? What did you idiots try to do that enraged them that much? Grope them? Steal their panties? Through Issei's head ran a few more intense scenarios. It couldn't be rape, these two would never do that. Right? Actually, after short thought, with a little push, they would do just that. They desperately needed girlfriends for their own good. What's worse, he wasn't much better, at least in the girlfriend department. Issei was sure he would never try to rape someone. The three of them enrolled into this school because it recently turned co-ed, so boys were in the drastic minority and they dreamed to use it to date multiple girls at once and create their own harems. And it ended in a dream state because they were now second years and none of them hadn't even dated once. Both beaten perverts shook their heads energetically, quickly followed with whines of pain. Nothing like that. We were just peeping on them as usual and when we tried to run some handsome asshole appeared out of nowhere. He tripped us and then fucking bowed to the girls with a smirk saying that we're perverted presents for pretty ladies to punish traitor of his own gender. Matsuda growled through his teeth. Yeah, because of him we didn't have a chance to wear them out. Come to think of it, it's also your fault. If you were with us, part of the beating would be focused on you or we could just throw you at them as a distraction and run. Motohama closed onto his friend to make him feel some of their pain. Issei deadpanned at both of them and was just about to point out how great of friends they were when a flash of red hair caught his attention. Rias Gremory, one of Kuo's two great ladies, was staring directly at him from the school building. Just thinking of her figure, or more importantly, her boobs sent Issei's brain into the gutter with a perverted grin plastered on his face. You remember that she's a devil? Her having interest in you is not good news, especially considering your decision about the supernatural. I know Diedrag. But boobs. Hearing Diedrag inside his head reminded him about lessons, so he ran into the school building, his friends right behind him. DXD, Akano. Mark him as a potential candidate and tell Kaneko to follow him discreetly after school for some time. You think that he's the answer to your marriage problem? He looks kinda cute, despite his perversion. I don't know, but I can sense something inside him and we're almost out of time. DXD told you not to worry about anything. I knew I would make it in time. Issei was sitting in his place in the classroom and talking telepathically to the dragon spirit. Or at least tried to, as the only response that he got from him was a low grunt. Before the teen could think about a way to make Diedrag talk, his teacher entered. Alright, listen up. Before we start today's lessons I want to introduce to you a new transfer student who will be attending our class. Come and greet your new classmates. Teacher motioned towards open doors. From behind them shot black and white blur. which abruptly stopped right in the middle of the classroom. The newcomer was a tall boy in Kuo Academy uniform. He had jet black hair, white bangs, orange eyes and black-red headphones hanging from his neck. With a Cheshire cat grin, he turned towards staring crowd. "Hello everyone. My name is Hyodo Septimus, but everybody calls me Sep. Please take care of me," the new student said with a carefree manner and ended with a bow. Raising his head he spotted Issei and happily waved to him. "Hey brother, how's it going?" "Surprise!" two voices said the inside shocked boy's head. For a moment there was absolute silence. Everyone moved their eyes between the Hyodos, trying to scale the situation. And then like a pierced balloon everything exploded. "Oh, he's so cute. I don't believe he's related to the beast. I wonder if he's single. He's probably another pervert." A feminine side of the class all shouted at once. "Why isn't he some cute girl? What's with those white hair? Who does he think he is? Die handsome." The masculine side of the class shouted in anger. Scratch. With a loud noise of moving chairs, two beaten-up guys suddenly stood up. "You're the asshole that tripped us," they roared in perfect unison. Septimus just stood there smirking all this time. After the duo's outburst, he raised his hands to catch everyone's attention again. "Calm down, I'll gladly answer your questions, but one at a time. So, who's first?" A girl with brown braids and pink-framed glasses, Aika Kiryu, stood up. "I have a few questions. How are you Issei's brother when you look completely different? And what are those idiots talking about?" she said, pointing at the still-standing Motohama and Matsuda, after which both of them sat down again. "Well, we're not related. We're adopted in the same family after our biological parents died when we were little. Actually, there's 6 of us, 1 more brother and 3 sisters, and some of them will enroll here soon too." Everyone looked at Issei. No one except his 2 friends even suspected that he had siblings, or was adopted. And about Baldy and his friend with glasses, it's short story. I saw them spying on the girls' changing room, then running away from what I assumed to be the wrath of those girls, so I helped them to slow down a little. He finished with a chuckle. The female part of the class started gossiping, which only intensified after Katase and Murayama confirmed the second part with a nod. Kiryu asked the next questions with a dead serious face. "Only 2 more questions. Are you perverted like your brother and do you have a girlfriend?" Taken aback by the blunt interrogation, Septimus looked at her in silence for few seconds and then answered with an uncertain tone. "I'm not sure what you mean. If you ask whether I'm going to sneak into lockers, discuss porn out loud or something like that, then of course not, but for sure I'm neither gay or some hermit. And at this moment no, I'm single." At this moment Issei came out of shock. "Diedrich, what the fuck? You knew Sep was coming back today and you stayed silent. And that he's in my classroom? And why this idiot doesn't even try to hide his presence at all? Even with my abilities sealed I can sense him. The devils here must know for sure that he's not human." The mad teenager yelled inside his head. While other students were asking their questions, the ancient spirit tried his best to calm the boy down. "Settle down hatchling before you make yourself a fool. The reason why I haven't said anything to you is that Cat asked for it to surprise you. And about him showing off his nature, I have no idea. You'll have to ask him yourself. Alright, that's enough for now. Please, take a seat behind your brother and we will start the lesson," the teacher said, at which Septimus nodded. When he sat at his new place, Issei without turning said telepathically, "We need to talk." "That we shall do. Can't wait till break." Issei sighed, knowing that his brother was enjoying the turn of events and attention he got. "DXD, I'm hurt, brother. We don't see each other for almost 3 years and you won't even say, 'Hey, it's good to see you again.'" They were laying under a tree, shoulder to shoulder, staring at the blue sky. Lunch break started and they finally had a chance to talk freely. "Don't joke around. This is serious. I know you good enough to understand all this, surprise show up. But what got into your head to just walk in here while all but screaming, 'Yo, I'm a fucking supernatural'?" Septimus looked at him dumbfounded. "You still hold that charade with the seal? I could smell a dragon on you the moment I passed the gate, so I thought you stopped hiding and I can just walk as myself here." Now it was Issei's turn to stare blankly. "What are you talking about? It could be that your seal is breaking because up close I could mistake you for a sacred gear user. That would explain the sudden interest of the devils in him. Probably. Well, we can't help it now." The black and white-haired boy shrugged. If I suddenly started masking my presence, that would only make me more suspicious. We just have to go with the flow. Before I forget, go home without me. I still have to take care of my stuff. I got here a little earlier than expected and I'm supposed to pick them up after school later. No problem. And Sep, it's good that you're back, bro. Issei was walking back home when he spotted a beautiful girl his age standing on the path. She was in a school uniform with a dark red jacket, had navy blue hair, and what Issei noticed foremost was that her boobs were enormous. When he approached her, she smiled at him shyly and said something that almost gave him a heart attack. Please go out with me. Issei's brain refused to work. This beautiful girl asked him to go out with her. Girl. Date. Him. It was like a dream come true. Only after the next few seconds did Issei realize that he was staring at her boobs and didn't answer. Great. You've most likely just screwed up your first real chance to get a girlfriend. Great fucking job, Issei. He started yelling at himself in his thoughts. Trying to save the situation, he shook his head and stuttered. What? He mentally facepalmed. Worst reaction ever. Are you Hyodo's Issei-san? Yes. I've always seen you pass by here and… Well, Now it was her turn to start stuttering. It's just too cute. His eyes again wandered onto her heavenly mounds. No, bad Issei. After a moment the girl calmed herself. Will you be my boyfriend? Unbeknownst to any of them, a certain white-haired girl eating sweets was watching them. On his way home, Issei felt like his feet got wings and everything became, more colorful. After he, with great enthusiasm, accepted her offer, the girl introduced herself as Kara. They talked for some time, after which Kala suggested, they go on a date this weekend. Can't wait to rub it in Matsuda and Motohama's faces. School romance. Adultery. Fortification. Which is almost the same as adultery. Naked women. Mawahaha. Soon, Kara-chan, soon you will be mine. And then my dream will come true and I'll become a harem king. He shouted to the sky, not caring about the weird stares that he attracted from adults, teenagers, children, and animals. Mommy, what is that guy talking about? Mommy. For the love of great red. Boy, stop embarrassing yourself. And are you sure she's not some assassin sent to eliminate you? Groaned Diedrich, now awake, still not believing what happened when he was napping. You're sounding paranoid, Diedrich. Do you seriously think so low of me that you assume someone would ask me out? Only so that she could kill me? And I haven't sensed on her anything but human, so you can calm down. But your senses are dulled by your seal, so you can't be certain. You should let Kat check her. No way. He will scare her with his behavior and there will go my chance for a date. The dragon just sighed and said nothing. When Issei reached his home, his mother and father noticed his euphoric expression. Oh, I never thought you'd be so happy to finally meet your brother again, his father commented with a teasing voice. Seriously, did everyone except me knew that Septimus is coming back today? And no, your son is so happy because he finally got a girlfriend, he stated proudly. Crash, what? Came behind him loud, followed with even louder, fuck. He turned to see Septimus standing over box he just dropped, checking if everything was still in one piece. Language, young man. Sorry, Okawa-san. But more importantly, how the hell did Issei get a girlfriend? And who is she? A voice came from Septimus' chest. Albion. What you're doing here? You've been awfully quiet lately. Diedrich's voice sounded from Issei's chest. He tagged along while I was on my way here. Septimus shrugged. But we are sidetracking. What's this story about Issei getting a girlfriend out of the blue? Her name is Kara-chan and she confessed to me on the overpass after school. We have a date this weekend. She confessed to you? What's her motive? No one knows that we have a shitload of money. So what, she wants your organs or is just a psycho that wants to kill you? Septimus barely finished his sentence when he received a sharp smack on his head and a death glare from Mrs. Hyodo. Sorry. He apologized sheepishly and adjusted his headphones on his neck. Not you too. Does no one believes that girl would be interested in me without any ulterior motives? Issei asked with a pained voice. If I say, yes, will you be mad at me? His brother retorted teasingly. Issei just helplessly hung his head down, but before he could say anything their mother embraced him in a comforting hug. Of course we believe you, Septimus is just making fun of you. Which he will stop right now, or else he will regret it. A cold chill passed through the raven-haired boy's spine. Yeah, it's just an innocent joke. But I can always check with Senjutsu if she's not yandere or anything crazy. At this Issei's head shot up and he freed himself out of the hug. No thanks. I'd prefer if you'd leave her alone, at least until my date with her. I don't want you to scare her off before I had any chance. His brother just laughed and nodded. As you wish. I can leave you two lovebirds alone for this week. And you don't have to worry about me doing something mischievous on your date. I will be out of town. As always at weekends, I have to do my job. But after that, you have to introduce her, no excuses. Unexpectedly hearing quiet sobbing, three heads turned to its source, to see Mr. Hyodo shedding tears of happiness. My boy will finally become a man. I'm so proud of you, son. Oi, Dad, it's just a date. Don't jump to any weird conclusions so fast. Issei screamed with panic visible on his face. In the background, he heard the rest of the family laughing their asses off at the situation. DXD Issei was standing at their meeting spot, checking the time again. He was dressed in his best pants and a new shirt, bought especially for this occasion. It was his mother's advice. Until now everything was going great. Septimus kept his promise and stayed away from them, at least when he was with Kara. He made Issei his main source of fun at school. That and sleeping during lessons, but somehow still managing to pay attention to the topic. Motohama and Matsuda literally cried out of jealousy when Issei introduced his girlfriend to them and were ready to attack him for breaking their pact. The devils at school just watched him, but a little jumpy because of his brother's sudden arrival. He even got one of their flyers a few minutes ago, which he stuffed in his pocket, so it looked like they had no idea what he is. And the best was that both dragons promised to stay out of his head and not interrupt them. Alright Issei. Show her your best side and that you can be a perfect gentleman. So no perverted thoughts, no lecherous face or anything perverted. And stop talking to yourself in the third person. The nervous teen mumbled to himself. Sorry for being late. I hope you didn't have to wait too long. Kara's voice pulled him out of his thought. She was in a maroon V-neck shirt which plunged very low, exposing much of her breasts, and a matching short skirt that drew hormonal teenagers' eyes. Don't worry, I also just got here. Issei smiled innocently, trying to kill any unnecessary thoughts about his date's choice of clothes. DXD. It was late afternoon and they walked through the empty park holding hands. For Issei, the date was perfect. Holding hands, visiting stores, lunch in a restaurant, and now only two of them during sunset. Almost perfect. The only thing it lacks is a goodbye kiss, he corrected himself. Aiz-kun, can you do something for me? Is this it? Issei's mind quickly was clouded with his fantasy. He closed his eyes imagining her lips meeting his and him. Sure. What is it? His dreams were abruptly ended because of searing pain in his chest. Kara's face was right in front of his as if she's about to kiss him, and in her hand was the dagger. The dagger was embedded in him all the way to the hilt. Will you die for me? She simply asked, taking a step back and unfolding her wings with black feathers. The feathers flew dramatically all around them. Kara-chan? Issei fell on his knees, barely forcing even this one word out of his throat, feeling life slipping away fast with every second. Strangely, the girl's face looked older and her body grew larger and more mature. Even in this situation, Issei's first thought was about her breasts that were about to spill out of the now too small undershirt. Oh, don't you know what's happening? My name isn't Kara, but Calawarner, a fallen angel. We know who and what you are. Unfortunately for you, our boss doesn't like that you're here and wants you dead. She gloated with a sadistic tone, looking down on his now dying form. This little stunt was just to get me a clear shot, even if it was fun toying with you. But also it ends here. Goodbye. Her blue hair and cold eyes were the last sights before the darkness of death consumed him whole. DXD Valley Lucifer, the great-grandson of the original Lucifer and current possessor of divine dividing, was flying over some forest when suddenly his sacred gear vanished only to reappear after a second. Albion, the dragon sealed inside of it, roared painfully, frightening every living thing in earshot. His roar was full of sorrow, but also promised wrath and dreadful revenge for whoever was responsible for making his spirit suffer. DXD. On the other side of the globe, a girl dreamed about Red Dragon. In her dream, the dragon was roaring, throwing himself across burning fields and clawing, as if trying to get out of some kind of prison. The girl could feel that dragon was hurting as if he'd just lost someone dear to him. Unexpectedly, the red reptile stopped and focused his gaze on her. Next thing she knew, she was awake, clutching her left hand with pain and the burned sight of emerald eyes filled with grief in her mind. DXD Septimus changed into his normal clothes and was just about to go tell his boss that he's heading out on a train when his chest felt like someone poured liquid metal on it. Quickly checking the source of pain, he found out that there was nothing wrong, which left only one answer. Issei. Without much thinking, he sent a short message saying only, "Emergency," and teleported with his black and white magic circle to the sky above Kuo. Closing eyes, he focused on the bond with his brother, trying to locate him. Before gravity claimed him, he pinpointed Issei's and again teleported. Materializing at the outskirts of the park, he was met with the sight of his brother dying and a blue-haired fallen standing in front of him. Confirming his fears, Septimus' eyes literally become orange lights. Black shadows danced around him and clawed at the fallen angel. He feels his blood turning ice cold and two ebony swords appearing in his hands. At the same time, a few things happen. Without a sound, he shot towards Black-Winged Bitch with inhuman speed. Calawarner noticed the intense bloodlust moving at her and saw two orange orbs glowing through some white hair. And suddenly a light spear that came from the trees flew at the attacking Septimus. Deflecting the unexpected projectile, he missed his chance for a quick kill and skidded a few meters away. Finally stopping, he turned with his weapons pointed to where the spear came from, only to see a girl coming fast at him with an expressionless face, dead blank eyes and another light spear in her hand. What makes matters worse is that Septimus recognized both the face and the spear. Ray? Just for a split second, he hesitated. Then, the next moment his stomach was pierced and the shadows around him disappeared as he was face to face with his opponent. He stared into her eyes, but haven't found there any recognition, or any other emotion. Something more a machine than a sentient being. Shaking himself out of the shock, he slashed both swords at her, but Fallen Angel swiftly jumped back out of his range. With blood pouring out of his stomach, he discarded both his swords and summoned dark balls of fire, throwing them at the enemy. Seeing that the situation is getting out of hand and their main objective has been completed, Calawarner made a quick decision. "Rainier, we're retreating," she shouted and hastily flew away. Without any sign of confirmation, Rainier dodged the fireballs coming at her, then did same as her colleague and took off into the sky. "Come back here," Septimus roared, dispersing fire in his hands, but when he tried to follow them his legs refused to obey him and he fell on all fours. The gaping hole in his stomach reminded him of someone laying a few meters away from him. Issei. No, 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 shit. Fuck, fuck, fuck. He yelled while crawling towards the motionless figure of his brother. Don't you dare to die on me, you perverted bastard. When Septimus reached the body, he immediately extracted the dagger, stuffing it behind his belt and started repairing the wound with magic. But as Issei laid without life or showing any signs of coming, Septimus barely noticed his strength leaving him too. Don't leave me, you idiot. Live, he said with his eyes becoming wet. Unexpectedly, a red light started coming out of Issei's pocket, then from the crimson magic circle appeared before the brunette. And out of it came Beauty in school uniform, with striking blue eyes and the most intense red hair he had ever seen. A devil. What happened here? She looked around seeing blood trail, black feathers, and burnt marks. Save him. Please. Not having time to explain, Septimus begged, gesturing towards the body between them. The scarlet-haired girl knelt before the dead boy. After noticing it was the same one she was thinking about adding to her peerage, she took one of her pawns, but when she tried to use it on him she was stopped by the boy with orange eyes. One won't be enough, you need to use all. Hurry up, he stated with frighteningly crazed eyes. The surprised devil wasn't sure about that, but conviction in his tone made her follow his advice. She almost forgot how to breathe for a moment. Just how powerful is he? Some of the 8 pawns mutated. Only those with a very strong power could mutate an evil piece. Seeing it, Septimus finally relaxed and dropped on the ground like a puppet that had its strings cut. Turning over on the back, he finally let loose of all his emotions. Ha 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 ha. He laughed maniacally and cried like a newborn child at the same time. I did it. Coming close to him, the devil pointed at the wound in his stomach. You're dying too, and it's too late for me to save you with normal methods. Are you willing to join me? Still laughing and crying, the teen nodded. Summoning again her chessboard, she took out her unused bishop and placed it on his chest. When nothing happened and she was about to try her rook, but Septimus grabbed her hand with the evil piece. When she looked at him, she saw him staring with extreme determination, but not at her. He was focused on her hand and the bishop piece. "Oh no, you fucker. I don't care if you're not enough. If I have to, I'll mutate you myself." Black and white aura swirled around him. Septimus concentrated on the area around his hand. Rias Gremory was taken aback by the power coursing inside her bishop piece. When Septimus finally withdrew his aura, the bishop piece was as black as the abyss with rivers of white and red dots all over it. Then the abnormal bishop started glowing, after which it levitated and was absorbed into the boy's chest, who then lost his consciousness. "Era," Rias Gremory muttered, awestruck at the event. "First one down. If you have any questions, thoughts or anything like that, leave them in reviews or PM me. I always try to answer ASAP those registered here, and to those without an account in the next chapter. If you liked it, follow and read the following chapters. Ch1 of 13 next, Chapter 2 AN. Second chapter, following the resurrection of boobs-loving pervert, and all the shit that it will cause. Have a good lecture. Beated by Laragas. Albion out loud, telepathically. Diedrich out loud, telepathically, Electric and others. Wake up. Wake up my love. Or else I'll kill you. Wake. Issei slammed his alarm as always in the morning, but this time something was different. When a stray sunbeam found its way under his blanket, it stung him. "Ah. I feel like I've been through this whole killing business recently." The teen mumbled and turned to catch a few more minutes of sleep. Issei's sleepy mind registered another weird thing, since when did his bed get something warm and soft, like one of those stuffed toys? Running his hand over it, suddenly he heard soft moan right next to his ear. Losing all signs of sleepiness, he bolts up, throwing blanket off, and before him emerged something that stopped any higher functions of his brain. In his bed laid Rias Gremory, the most beautiful girl in his school, fully naked, with his hand on her bottom and the blissful expression on her sleeping face. After a second of silently staring at her bare body, Issei did what any sane person would do. "Whaaaaat!" he screamed out of shock. The girl before him sleepily sit up, and at the same time, he could hear a loud thud behind the wall. After few second and more ruckus, his door shot open and in them stood Septimus. With ruined clothes, although his red and black headphones remained strangely intact, blood all over him, white magic circles in his hands and ready to attack at any moment. When he laid his eyes on Issei and Rias, both circles disappeared and he watched the scene before him wide-eyed. Simultaneously Issei had his eyes glued to Rias' breasts while she was stretching, a small trail of blood trailing from his nose. After few second impasse, it was Septimus who broke it. He ran back to his room, only to return the moment later. "Okay, why there is naked, sexy devil lady in Issei's bed, who is cleaned and changed. And why there is no sexy devil lady in my bed, where I woke up in bloody rags. And don't try lying to me, I've just checked," he asked, his tone dissatisfied and hurt. It was faked, of course. Finally regaining his ability to think, Issei quickly removed his hand from Rias' ass and got up, while Rias, not bothering with modesty, slowly started to dress. Your life was perfectly secured after reincarnation, while Issei here had problems with something interfering with new demonic energy inside him, so I had to share some of mine with him through skinship. Having her underwear on, she reached out to Issei. "Issei, could you pass me my skirt?" Issei stood there, his eyes following where the girl in his bed was pointing. With shaking hand he gave her cloth and looked between two guests in his room. "Can someone tell me, what the hell is going on?" Septimus leaned on the doorframe and answered him, with his trademark smirk. "Hell is actually pretty much your answer. Long story short, you, or more accurately we, died and this lady here resurrected us. So, you're a devil now, at least partly. Hope you enjoy it." Then he remembered something. "Oh, I haven't introduced myself yet. Septimus Hyodo, a pleasure to meet you," he said with an informal bow. Now fully dressed girl introduced herself. "Rias Gremory, also pleased to meet you. But we shouldn't sidetrack. It seems like whatever is going on with your brother, it still refuses to accept the evil pieces in him." Issei listened to them overwhelmed, in few seconds hearing that he died, was reincarnated as devil and now was dying again. However, Septimus just waved his hand dismissively as if everything was all right. That would be his seal. Nothing this little cat here can't fix. Ready, brother? Not waiting for his reaction, Septimus summoned another white circle on his palm, which transformed into a shining thin blade sticking out of his hand. Without any hesitation, he drove the blade through other teen's chest, right where his heart was. Seeing this, Rias was about to scream out of horror but stopped herself when saw Issei's reaction. The sudden pain finally brought him fully awake, but instead of sharp one like the one he felt the day before, this was more like wasp's sting. Wincing slightly, he looked at Septimus with accusation. Really? Couldn't you use something a little more gentle? Of course I could, but it wouldn't look so cool. Now brace yourself. This will hurt. And with that, he turned his hand and instantly pulled. There was no blood, the shining blade was ethereal. When it came out, Issei started shining in both green and blue, waves of power pouring uncontrollably out of him. When the familiar energy started coursing through his veins, Issei screamed and almost fell backward, his brother catching him. Rias was looking astonished at the events before her. Barely few hours, and those two managed to surprise her more times than she could count. When the energy hit her, she couldn't describe its amount but was sure it was of draconic origin. Those two can be the answer to my forced engagement with Riser. After Septimus helped his brother to stand up, his eyes lost its humor. They were clearly saying, "We need to talk." "I'm sorry, Rias-senpai. I'm sure you have many questions, but it's a long story, so it would be better if we tell it once when everyone involved is together," explained Issei. "That is probably the best option. Meet me at the old school building before lessons start. I'll introduce you two to the rest of my peerage and we'll answer each other's questions," she answered and then teleported with a red circle. Right after the devil left the room, Issei started. "All right, so." But before he could say anything more, something interrupted him. "Issei, Septimus, are you two all right? Who did this?" Suddenly two dragons showed up in their minds, roaring with concern and rage. Both Hyodos grasped their heads with pain at unexpected arrival of two loud spirits. "Yes, we are, you overgrown lizards, or at least we were before you butted in screaming like drunkards in a bar. So tone down," yelled back angry Septimus. "So, as I was trying to say, do you have any idea how this fallen angel managed to fool my senses? Even sealed, I should have recognized what she was. Unfortunately I know. They have Rainier working for them. But I'll wager you my tail that she's mind-controlled. She can be a bitch, but she would never kill her friends. If Rainier was behind that illusion, then no wonder Issei couldn't see through the blue one. But it still doesn't explain how you died, cat," said Albion with curiosity. Septimus looked down embarrassed, a useless gesture considering four of them were linked with their minds. "I was distracted," he muttered. "Let's leave this for now. What's more important, we have to find out who those fallen angels are and what to do with them," Issei interrupted, feeling that both dragons were about to chew his brother out for losing focus during the fight. "Oh, with that I can help," the black-haired Hyodo said, raising his head and searching through clothes. After a few seconds, he took out the familiar dagger. "This is the dagger that killed you and it's clearly dragon-slaying magic. Nothing even close to Ascalon, but still formidable. So whoever got this for them have to be well connected. Also, they're fallen angels, so we know who we have to contact in first place. Yeah, call him right now, even if he doesn't know anything. We should still inform him that some of his men that have gone astray, because I'm sure he would never order to kill us. Also, right before I died, Kara-chan." "No," Calawarner said something about boss, so some of the higher-ups are probably involved. Issei shared his assumption with the rest. "That's most likely true, but how high do you think it reaches? Could someone from Cadre be entangled in this too? We can't exclude that option. I'll tell Valley to ask around about anything that could help with that matter." "Way ahead of you, Issei. And Albion, when you're at it, tell that battle freak that we're okay and now that I'm back he'd better show up soon. It's been too long since we've seen each other face to face." After both dragons left their minds, Septimus conjured a human-size white circle on the floor. Out of it came a projection of a blonde mature woman. She had a blue secretary uniform consisting of a short skirt and a jacket that tightly hugged her rich curves. Her office image was completed with a pair of blue glasses. "Grigori headquarters, how can I help you?" she asked formally, but when she saw both teenagers her voice quickly relaxed. "Oh, Eyes and Sep. How are you, boys? I wasn't expecting you to contact us, especially eyes. Good morning Claire, been better. Could you connect us to Azazel? It's extremely important, Issei said while both of them bowed their head, politely greeting the woman. Sorry, but I can't help you. The Governor-General and the rest of Cadre is currently out of reach. They went on a meeting with the Norse Pantheon but should be back in 2 days. Do you want me to pass a message to him? Claire asked in a business tone. Shit. 2 days with Asgardians means 2 days of drinking till you end under the table. Nothing will reach him. Thanks for help Claire, just ask him to contact us when he's sober. Have a good day, commented an irritated Septimus. You too, boys. And tell your mother I said, hello, it's been a long time since you visited us. Except you, Septimus. With that, she cut the connection. So we can't count on Azazel for at least 3 days and without consulting him we can't make a move against them. So that makes meeting Rias and her group main problem for now. It will be interesting to see their reaction. Issei chuckled. You were fairly interested in Gremory's boobs for what I've seen. Although you surprised me when you had your hand on her ass instead of them. Anyway, you have one more problem that you've forgotten. Septimus left the room laughing. Oi, that was an accident, even if very fortunate. And what you're talking about? Issei yelled after his brother. Your clothes. Welcome back in Supernatural, bro, came to him. As Issei looked down it dawned on him that he was standing this whole time only in his pants. DXD brothers were now standing outside the old school building. Fortunately, their parents left on Saturday, having some important business, so explaining all this mess to them was conveniently delayed. Both were in their uniforms, Septimus with his ever-present headphones. We're doing this as planned. I'm the one who's gonna do the talking. When the time is right I'll give you a sign and boom. Everyone's speechless with brain overload. Septimus went over the plan again. You're definitely way too much into theatrics, commented Issei with a deadpan expression. Tell me something I don't know. Give him a break. It's boring with my host when she can't communicate with me yet, so let me have some fun watching the reaction of those devils as they'll hear it. You too, Diedrich? Relax hatchling. Just let the old dragons have some amusement. I'm not gonna even comment it. Alright, we're doing it your way, Sep. Issei lost all hope for winning this argument and decided to just go with the flow. Great. Let's get this show on the road. The hyped-up Septimus clapped his hands. DXD. The inside of the Occult Research Club was decorated Victorian style. Its members sitting on couches and sipping tea. Way to kill the mood, interjected Diedrich. Shut up. I like it, especially the table, retorted Septimus. Noticing their appearance a blond fellow went over to them and shook their hands with a smile that made Issei cringe his teeth. Hello, I'm Kiba Yuda, member of the Occult Research Club. You must be Hyodo Issei and Septimus. Nice to meet you. The same to you. And for future reference, I prefer Sep, my full name is way too a mouthful, answered the dark-haired boy with a smile of his own. I sense some gay vibes between you two. Issei sneered to his brother telepathically. Septimus let go his grip like burned. Fuck off. Looking between brothers, Yudo shrugged at their weird behavior. Sorry, but Bucko will be in a minute. In the meantime, I'll introduce you to other members. This is Himejima Akeno the Fukubucho and Taju Kaneko, he stated, pointing respectively at spitting image of a Yamato Nadeshiko and petite white-haired girl eating sweets. While Issei's eyes stopped on Akeno's breasts, Septimus walked to greet her. Pleasure to meet you, my name is Hyodo. He started, but when he looked into her eyes, his voice refused his wishes and an ice-cold chill ran down his spine. Aye, he screamed in an unmanly manner and jumped back with a look of pure terror, accidentally tripping over couch and landing on his butt. The club members gave him a weird look. Issei looked away from Akeno's boobs for a moment while both dragons inside the Hyodo's heads erupted laughing. What are you doing, screaming like a girl? Fuck off, I'm not coming near her, she's a fucking sadist. How can you tell? Besides, you're a sadist too. I can feel it. And not that kind of sadist. I bet info about Big Z's porn stash that under her bed. You can find all sort of BDSM shit. Issei laughed at his brother, his mind showing him Akeno in revealing dominatrix suit, while latter was frantically running his eyes over the room. Anyo. Akeno started but was quickly interrupted by Septimus jumping on his feet. I need a shield, fast. Best a human shield. Issei. No, he will let her eat him with that perverted grin on his face. That Yuto guy? Hell no, got enough of those gay vibes, that leaves only one choice, he ranted to himself. With a quick jump, he was behind the small girl holding her between himself and the scary female. Thou shalt be my shield and protect me from this monster. Both Yuto and Issei watched the situation, not exactly sure what to do. Sep, I think you're overreacting. Issei tried to calm his brother. No, Kaneko stated emotionlessly. I'll buy you a big box of sweets every month, offered the black-haired boy. Every day, the small girl answered with her own proposal. Every week. Deal, she answered without hesitation. Akeno-senpai, please stay away. What just happened? Asked the dumbfounded Akeno. Septimus visibly relaxed with his new protector and took a deep breath. Suddenly his eyes shot open and he took a deep whiff of Kaneko's scent. The held girl stiffed and started emitting a cold aura. Pervert. Again the terrified Septimus placed her down and started slowly backing off, holding his hands defensively. Wait, it's not like that. I've just… Thud. Whatever he tried to say was stopped when Rias entered the room with two other females. Era, what's going on here? She asked, wondering what was happening. When no one answered her, she coughed and continued. Let me introduce to you. Sona Citri and Tsubaki Shinra, we've met. Interrupted Septimus, regaining his composure. Oh, so you've known that I'm a devil just by true name? Sona asked, surprised. Yes. Isn't it obvious? I've brought Sona here to introduce you to each other and let her hear your story. Explained Rias. Is that alright? There should be no problem since Sona is the sister of Amao and Tsubaki is her queen. But for the sake of 3 factions, all that will be stated can't leave this room. Some of these will be Satan-level secrets. You can ask about it your siblings later, said Issei with a serious tone. Everyone looked after each other and nodded their heads slowly, with Rias and Sona crossing eyes and silently agreeing on doing just what Issei suggested. Alright, now that everyone's here, please sit on the couch. Getting their attention, Septimus pointed at their seats. To fully understand the story, it has to be told from the very beginning and uninterrupted, so please stay your question and enjoy the tale. Then, let's begin. He ended with a loud clap and the room went dark. We don't know what was at the beginning. The few beings that were there are now either dead, fated, or don't care about anything besides themselves and forgot. That or they just don't want to say anything. Septimus' voice rang through the room. Then the darkness got illuminated, showing multicolored flashes. Slowly they started changing, taking more recognizable forms. A golden light that looked like a river of sand and a mist around it that devoured its light. After a minute the previously black room became full of every imaginable color flying around and fighting with each other. In the center, with the red and gray lights shining from his closed hands, stood Septimus, white bangs covering his eyes. We can only assume it was space outside of space where conceptual entities existed before there were any laws binding this and other worlds. The remnant of this state is the dimension gap, home of the 2 most powerful conceptual entities, the Dragon of Dragons and the Ouroboros dragon. With those words, he opened his hands. Out of the left flew a red light that looked like a western dragon, while a gray light came from his right hand with a form that was ever-changing. Slowly some of those beings morphed, creating this universe and every basic law governing it. Parts of light formed the sphere, much more logical, surrounded by an iridescent maelstrom. Others stayed the same, not concerned with what was happening around them. The third group, the weakest breed, descended to their siblings' creation. They, envious of what was created, wanted something for themselves, so they formed worlds, galaxies, stars and finally, in their own image, life. Lights again separated, part of it was still roaming the colorful chaos, others sank into the sphere, constructing corporal shapes. Through this creation, the most noticeable beings were dragons, shadows of the true dragon and the dragon god, and gods, children of descended conceptuals. And all of them were obeying the new rules. Time passed, worlds were created and destroyed, gods were born and died, same with conceptuals, as they lost their individuality and dissolved into their domains. Fractions and pantheons were formed. The God from the Bible with his system and angels is the most powerful inside the universe. Sphere changed into the image of cosmos as we know it. Everyone stared in silence at Septimus, who was standing outside of this spectacle, his hands spread, orchestrating magical projection and narrating history. Now, this is when we start to have more dependable information. During the rule of biblical God, one of the angels, Lucifer, rebelled against his creator, and alongside him were his three accomplices, Beelzebub, Leviathan, and Asmodeus, who rejected their cores as angels and fell into the furthest place from heaven, into the underworld. There, they absorbed its floating energy and became the antithesis to what they previously were, the devils. It's unclear how they did that, but with the help of the first woman, Lilith, they created a whole race of their kind and populated the underworld, creating 72 pillars, the oldest clans governing it. In the middle of those events, another group led by Azazel also turned their back on God's teaching and succumbed to sin. As they didn't relinquish being angels, but still were cast out of heaven, they became another new race, fallen angels. The projection closed up to the universe, leaving the multicolored dimension gap out of it, and showed the birth of three factions in their present form. The angels hated devils by nature and denounced their fallen brothers and sister. Devils detested all kinds of angels. The fallen angels wanted the realm for themselves. With all that bad blood, something was bound to happen. No one knows which faction started it, but soon after there was all-out, three-way war between them. All other supernatural races soon picked their sides and also joined, with the exception of the dragons. And so, thousands of years ago, the Great War started. Humans were gifted with sacred gears to help them survive. Ongoing battles left an imprint in their history, as they often took sides and different groups fought for every race. Here the projection abandoned its spherical form, showing different battlefields. Sometimes they were purely supernatural, while other times there were humans' armies clashing against each other with three factions following their actions in the sky. Around 1,000 years ago happened something unprecedented. During one of their battles, two dragons, the most powerful of their kind after Great Red and Ophis, interfered. As two powerful beasts fought, they killed soldiers on all sides. Leaders of the factions tried to stop them, but that only enraged both dragons. In face of such a powerful enemy, devils, angels, and fallen angels called a ceasefire. With the joined power of three factions, they managed to kill both of them, with God sealing their souls inside sacred gears. The scenery changed again. Around them was battle, but instead of the three factions fighting each other, they stood side by side, facing the red and white dragons that were ripping through their forces. After some time it showed the leaders of the three factions as they entered the battle, changing its tides in their favor. The projection ended with an image of both dragons dying, after which room changed back to normal. That ends the first part. If you have any questions, ask away, said Septimus in a merry voice, his serious persona vanishing in a second. Why did you stop? You had them eating from your hand and now you're losing that atmosphere. Diedrich couldn't understand the young man's action. Shish. I know what I'm doing. I've just shown them flashy appetizers. Now I just have to leave them with even more questions till they're boiling. Only then will I let them eat the main dish. His culinary metaphor stopped the dragon from prying, who decided to just wait for the results. Sona was the first to cool off after the show. You weren't kidding when you said that you'll start from the beginning. I have few questions. How do you know what happened back at the beginning? And where did you get photos of the Great War from? I've seen some of those from the Battle of the Heavenly Dragons and they were identical to what you showed us. It wasn't merely work of your mind. Also, why all this running around the bush with the story? The Seatree heiress was suspicious towards the new devils. They knew too much for someone without access to higher-level secrets. Septimus scratched his chin, taken aback by the direct way of question. Wow, right to the point, as expected of someone from the Seatree clan. So, Sona Senpai, in questioned order. As I said, I don't know, I'm just familiar with some of the few theories about it. Yes, I was shown those photos. By whom? Well, I'll state in the second part of my tale. And why all this? Quite simply, to create an appropriate mood and some theatrics for the grand reveal. He ended with a smirk. Septimus-kun, how are you so skilled in magic to manage projection of this level, without any visible flaws and at the same time so detailed? Asked the curious Rias, causing the storyteller to wince. Please, just Sep. It can be without honorifics. My full name is too much of a mouthful to use in normal conversations. You could say that I'm quite skilled in a few branches of magic, with illusion among them. If there are no more questions, let's begin the second part, which will actually answer your questions. Seeing that everyone wanted to hear rest of the story, he again entered his narrator mode, and with a dramatic wave of his hand, the room changed again, this time showing what looked like a simple village in ancient Japan. Now let's move a bit. Someday before the battle that ended with the demise of heavenly dragons, two half-dragons were born, both in Japan, in two simple villages. A boy and a girl were raised by their human mothers, as their fathers left without even knowing that each of them was going to have a child. Dragons have other meaning to their race. You either are one or you are not. If a half-breed possesses draconic power, then they are considered full dragon the moment when they fully develop. Those children eventually grew up and lived their lives as dragons live, doing whatever they wanted. At some point, they meet each other and found they are very much alike. Not concerned with the outside politics of the supernatural world. They just spent their time together. The story showed an outline of said dragons, their early lives, childhood in human forms, the moment when they reached their maturity and changed into their other selves, white and red respectively, when they meet. As dragons they were exceptional. Kind-hearted, calm, but at the same time, as immensely powerful as their fathers, with a peculiar ability. They could hear their respective fathers inside their minds. Said fathers weren't happy with their children's relationship but respected their decision. The older dragons were rivals, and them being in those villages in the first place was the result of their battles. Time flew by and a new millennium approached. They chose to settle down, for they were expecting a child of their own. Coming back to Japan and starting new lives here with the newborn son, that was their dream. For the first few years everything was good, but when the boy was 5, the family was found by a rogue group of dragon slayers. Using the surprise and the boy against his parents, they managed to kill both of them, but the whole group paid for that with their lives. The only one left living was the little boy. He'd surely die too, if not for voices in his head telling him what to do and calling themselves his grandfathers. The little half-breed was without any living family and for sure not old enough to be left alone. Lived for few weeks on streets, surviving thanks to his unique physiology and advice of both spirits. One day, he accidentally stumbled across a child his age in the same situation, a little male nekomata, feral as a tiger. Actually, when they first met, the little cat tried to bite him. Septimus continued his tale with a sad expression, lighting up at the end and lightly chuckling, remembering this particular moment and Issei's reaction. Issei at the couch had his eyes stuck in the ground, also inside his memories, but far from happy ones. They'd want you to live on and would be proud of a man you've become. After this little incident, both boys, reluctant and warily at first, talked about themselves. Quickly it was clear that they were alike. So when the boys' grandfathers proposed that they stay together, they stuck together like brothers. For next days, they were together hunting, scavenging garbage, and day by day they told each other more of their history. The little Yukai could remember only fragments, mostly about his mother and that she died during some attack. One night beside their campfire, the half-dragon, having the kind heart of his parents, declared that from now on he will be the cat's family. The dragon spirits told them about a symbolic blood pact that was supposed to be a dragon's equivalent to adoption and would make them true brothers in everything except parents. However, the ritual had a little side effect, as they could hear each other in their minds. The Yukai could also hear both dragons, and later on, they found out that they shared with each other some of their abilities. Shortly after, they were found by a certain individual with another boy. Someone wanting peace between the three factions, who seeing them had certain idea how to realize his goal. His projection followed the history, showing both boys in different situations. Near the end, Issei stood up and walked to his brother. Time for the main event. Wait for it. Grinning inside, Septimus spread his arm like a showman and started with a dramatic voice. Ladies and gentlemen, let me present to you Hyodo Issei, half-dragon, grandson of both heavenly dragons, and me, Hyodo Septimus. Something just as rare, a male nekomata, nekosho. Sign. Shouting in his mind, he released his tails and ears. Both tails and ears were in different colors, with the left one were as dark as night and right were as white as snow, reversely with ears. At the same time, Issei unfolded his draconic wings. His scales were brightly white, with the red tattoo-like patterns running where the bones were, each ending with a deadly-looking talon. A silence that fell upon them. A silence wherein one could hear a falling needle. Everyone stared at the now identified nekomata and dragon-turned devils. They just stood there, the former grinning that his plan worked perfectly and the latter laughing inwardly with his grandfathers at their reaction. Then, waving his tails, Septimus spoke with merry voice. "Well, looking at you, it's actually not that great a feat when we have here another Nekomata and a fallen angel hybrid, the daughter of the cadre member nonetheless. Crack, what do you think about my origin of the world here? Or about anything else here? Don't forget that beautiful, sexy faves and follows, and even sexier reviews. What do I do with my life to call those sexy _ Previous ch2 of 13 next, chapter 3 brother revealed who they are, something cracked and shit hit the fan. Quick info. Here comes the introduction of another part of Hyodo crazy family and I hope that you'll love those girls. And share with me later who is your favorite. Beated by Laragas. Albion out loud, telepathically. Diedrich out loud, telepathically, Electric and others. Kaneko watched those weird brothers with her usual expressionless expression while munching on sweets. One was her senior, Issei, widely known at school as a perverted beast. She noticed that during the whole show, he shifted his gaze between herself, Rias and Akeno. Standing right beside him, was Septimus. The boy with unusual hair who transferred recently and was the topic of many gossips. From what she's seen so far, he was skilled in magic and most likely as perverted as his brother. And me, Hyodo Septimus, something just as rare. A male Nekomata, Nekosho. Hearing his words, she stopped with another candy midair. He's a Nekosho too. His black tail and ear reminded her of her sister and her betrayal, and how Kaneko was almost executed. A flood of unwanted memories made short girl panic. Oni-sama, why? Well, looking at you, it's actually not that great a feat when we have here another Nekomata and a fallen angel hybrid, daughter of the cadre member nonetheless. For a second, the world around her stopped. The white-haired girl couldn't form any thought, the words echoing deep inside her mind. Unconsciously dropping her candy, she stared with a look of pure terror at both Hyodos, unable to move. Crack sitting next to her. Akeno dropped her cup, looking like she was about to panic herself. The sharp sound of broken vessel pierced their ears, partly waking youngest girl. No! Her loud scream echoed inside the room, while she tightly hugged her petrified neighbor, trying to hide and shut herself out from everyone. Okay, that's not something that I've expected. Do you know what's going on here? Septimus clearly didn't know what was happening and how his words could cause such a reaction. Both dragon spirits stayed silent, as they understood the situation even less than him. No idea. But it looks serious. I think that accidentally you said something you really shouldn't, answered Issei while folding his wings. Anyo. It was all that Septimus managed to say. After his declaration and offhandedly dropped comment, the rest of the room sat stunned. Rias was the first one that came back to her senses. Seeing Septimus moving in their direction, the devil princess quickly acted. Yuto. Her sharp command immediately brought the knight back. Faster than the human eye could register, he shot from his position, conjuring two demonic swords and directing them to the black-haired teen's throat. Halting with his foot in the air, Yukai focused his eyes on the two black pieces of steel pointing at him. It's getting worse with every second. What have I done to make them try to kill me? He screamed internally. I have no idea, but you two can most likely take them. They have potential, but are young and untrained. Diedrich answered seriously. And set a new world record in becoming strays? No thank you. And do I have to remind you that a few hours ago we actually died? So let's avoid making it 2 times 24 hours and don't do anything stupid. Issei tried to calm them down and stop it from escalating further. Can someone please tell me why I suddenly have 2 swords at my throat? Septimus asked with his ears down, keeping his calm and watching out to not cut himself by the blades. Kiba stayed silent, waiting for the next order. Meanwhile, Rias, Sona, and Tsubaki stood up, their hands holding balls of demonic energy, ready to throw at any hostile movement. This is what happens when you suddenly claim that you're mad from power, next to the grandson of 2 beings that could kill gods and scare my peerage into a coma. The cold voice of the Gremory heiress cut through the tension. I'm not psychotic because of power. And while we can't argue about Issei being the grandson of both heavenly dragons, no one tried to scare your servants. He shot back, making Kiba move his swords closer. Whoa. Easy there, Blondie, I'm calm. I'm calm. Devils have a bad history with senjutsu users that killed their masters while drunk on power, so let me be a judge here. Now, explain your story and how you knew who Akeno and Kaneko-chan are. Now. Rias still aimed her power of destruction at them and watched for any signs of lies. Drunk on power. What, without stories and sidetracking? Make it no more than 50 words. Sona stopped him before could say any more. What? Septimus repeated. 49 now, stated Citri without even blinking. You better tell them, before they attack us because of how annoying you are. Even with literal swords pointing at you, you can't stop yourself from being dramatic, said tired Issei, keeping an eye on everyone in the room. Thinking for a minute and counting on his fingers, the male Nekomata did exactly as he was told to. Guy in the story is Azazel. We spent part of our childhood in Grigori, so we know Barakiel. He talks sometimes about his daughter. Don't jump the gun. We're not in this whole war and your siblings know about us in the city. And I smelled cat on Kaneko-chan. Done. He declared in one breath, maintaining eye contact with the swordsman. Ria's tolerance for confusion reached its limit with the last revelations. Now she only listened with a straight face as the teen declared that he was in a fairly close relationship with the fallen angels and their leader, with his brother facepalming loudly. Care to elaborate, before we kill you for being fallen angel agents? Before situation got out of control, Issei stepped between them. Change of plan. Shut the fuck up. Issei quickly silenced his brother before he made the situation even worse. Rias-senpai, it's not what it sounds like. Yes, we were found by the Governor-General, but we're not part of the Grigori. For years now, the leaders of the three factions work hard to maintain the ceasefire and maybe make it into fully fledged peace. Long story short, our family can be called their project to eventually show higher ranks that different races can live together, because everyone in our family is of a different part of the supernatural world. Azazel is the main supporter of this idea and as someone who is known for focusing more on his research than the war, was chosen as our supervisor. Until now, only the leaders and a small selected group that is working on this project know all details, but as we are now part of your peerage and Kaichu is also responsible for this territory, you should know it too. Issei would pray for them to understand, if not for his new condition. And so, he only held his breath when Rias and Sona exchanged a silent conversation via eye contact. After a moment, both of them dispelled their magic and the relived teen released the air from his lungs. Kiba, let him go. The redhead commanded calmly to her knight. The blonde boy immediately followed her order and dispersed his swords. Thank you. Damn, you're fast. We have to spar sometime soon. Septimus thanked with a slight bow and then massaged his throat. When everyone relaxed their stances, except the still-out cold Kaneko and Akeno, Issei fully focused on those two. What happened to them? Why did they react like that when Sep said their type of species? He asked, still not understanding how all of this could take such turn. The Rias walked to her rook and queen. After confirming that they were unharmed, she turned towards her new pawn. Both of them have deep traumas regarding their origins, they hate what they are. Actually, with your explanation I can understand how you recognized Akeno, but how did you know what Kaneko is? Septimus just shrugged and wiggled his tails. As I said, I'm a Nekomata. My senses are higher than others and while hiding behind her, I noticed that she smelled like cat. Although it was rather faint, she must be really suppressing that side. But doing it's dangerous for her health, you know. He ended with a slightly worried tone. Hiding behind her? Long story. Luckily for him, Sona thought about something in Teen Story. You said that you could hear Issei's grandfathers, but if this is true, then both heavenly dragons have a telepathic connection to you too? Yes, and both of them are here right now. It can be a serious pain when they start their verbal battles in either of our heads, so in those situations, they mostly split their main attention between us, or one goes back to his host. It's like having annoying flies, but with the temper and size of dragons next to your ears that want to tear each other apart. Explained Issei with a grimace, thinking about the last time that happened and the migraine that followed. When you're inside a mind that thinks only about boobs and sex, there's not much more to do. Besides, our arguments aren't as bad as you say. The irate voice of the Red Dragon Emperor came from the boy's chest. Was that? Sona asked, astonished. Diedrich, and my name is Albion. Greetings, young devils. If you think that this is weird, then at first they were using our mouths. Let me just say, it was creepy. Joked Septimus as he tried to lighten the mood. MHH. The soft groan got everyone's attention. Both Akeno and Kaneko were slowly regaining consciousness. Before they could freak out again, Rias was there, explaining that they were safe and both teens weren't going to hurt them. If nothing else, we've got ourselves a caring master. Looks like the rumors are true. The Gremory house really care for their servants, noted the black and white Yukai with content. As their king repeated what was said, she looked at them with curiosity. Just how powerful are you guys? And what are your abilities? We're definitely more powerful than you combined, but not super op. And our abilities? Oh, it's easy. Issei has better senses, higher stamina and durability, resistance to fire and poison, access to Tuki and partial dragonification. When he finally reaches maturity, he'll be able to change his form into full a dragon and use his inherited abilities. I, on the other hand, specialize senjutsu, yujutsu, all sorts of magic and manipulate time and space, though the last is only to some extent. There's some more to that, but in short, I'm brain, he's brawn. Casually explained the male Nekomata. Sona, still not entirely convinced, wanted one thing straight. If the Governor-General was really responsible for you and Septimus-san, then why were you both killed by the Fallen? It's Sep, please. Because they were fallen angels, and just like you devils, the Grigori are also divided and not everyone is satisfied with the current leader, namely Azazel. We tried to contact him, but unfortunately, he's out of reach and it'd be best if we consult him before doing anything. And how long will it take? I'm not exactly thrilled to have a Rouge group of fallen angels in my territory, inquired the student council president. In 3 days we should know everything. We would move right now, but a few years back, someone acted without thinking and blew up some very important operation. The half-dragon responded and a certain someone, with white bangs tried to look as innocent as he could while whistling. Alright, we can wait for that much. Our classes will start soon, so let me formally welcome you to my peerage and tell you about your future duties. With that, Rias started with explanations about the evil peace system, devil hierarchy and what was expected of her new servants. After another few minutes, everyone stood up. Sona and her queen immediately bid their goodbyes, while the Occult Research Club stayed for last words with their president. Alright my adorable servants, now go do your daily routine. Sep, as you were just resurrected you will be weakened for a few days, so you don't have to work today, but tomorrow you'll be starting with your contracts. Hi, Rias Neeson. Cheered Issei. Oni-san sounds nice, but from now call me Bucko, she told them. Hi, Bucko. And I'm really sorry for scaring you, Kaneko-chan, Akeno-senpai. Issei apologized with a formal bow and left. I'll stick with senpai if that's not a problem. Septimus stopped with his hand over the handle. Oh, before I forget. On weekends I'm out of town, doing some important job that I can't quit now. If there will be an emergency of some kind, just call and I'll teleport right to you. That won't be a problem, right? Rias tilted her head lightly. As long as you do contracts there shouldn't be. But what kind of job is it? Some old obligation. Thanks, senpai. Also, I'm sorry. Teen scratched his neck awkwardly and followed his brother. Outside he watched with a laugh as Issei's friends attacked him and questioned why he was in the old school building. As he walked to his classroom he put headphones on and played some music. When he heard the particular song he couldn't help but smirk and hum to himself. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new life. For me, and I'm feeling, I'm feeling so, good. DXD, quite an eventful day, don't you think? Our parents are probably back home. I really don't want to explain all of this today. This day was way too long. Both brothers strolled down the road, the one with black hair and white bangs talking. You really are fortunate that your new master is Gremory. They are exceptionally close with their servants. I like her. She appears to be good king and has a high potential. Both of them heard the dragons talking in their minds with mirth in their voices. Yeah, I like her too. Issei's face turned dreamy, as he recalled 2 big attributes of his new master. With teats big enough to suffocate someone I'd be surprised if you had any different reaction. And Diedrich probably likes her only because of her red hair. Retorted Septimus. But I can't complain, she really seems to care for her peerage. Besides, she gave me those free weekends, so that's a big plus for her. But is it only me, or she is a weeaboo? His last comment made Issei's mind project image of Rias in a magical girl outfit on his bed. Just about to shaking his head he replied, trying to hold his smile. Don't know, but otaku calling others weeaboo is kinda. I'm not an otaku. I like anime, manga, and cosplay, but that doesn't automatically make me one. The black-haired teen immediately interrupted, causing his companions to laugh all the way back home. In front of their house, both dragons quickly evacuated from both the teens' minds. It's time for me to go back to Valley. Hope you'll survive explaining what happened to your parents. And I have to see how my host is doing. Good luck, hatchlings. Realizing what was waiting for them behind the doors, Issei and Septimus visibly paled. Come back here, you oversized alligators with wings. You had your fun, but now when you could be useful, you just fuck it and bail. Then Former desperately tried to reason with them into helping. Oh, they're gone. Fuck you, rotten assholes. Fake laughing. His brother tried to stop shaking and slowly walked to the doors. Come on, let's get this over with. It's not like they would be a big help anyway. Bracing themselves, both the young dragon and Nekomata entered their house, fearing what was going to happen. Leaving their shoes outside, they cautiously headed towards the kitchen, wanting to end this as fast as possible. Halfway there they heard people laughing and suddenly something clicked in Septimus' mind. I knew something's not right. Issei, run. They brought back. He frantically yelled through their connection, at the same time releasing his ears and tails to use senjutsu to teleport away. Oni-chan. His efforts were futile. Suddenly, a white bullet bumped into him with a loud war cry. Thud. OWWW. Septimus groaned in pain, opening slowly his eyes. Feeling the all-too-familiar weight on his back, he frantically started to wrench himself out of the bone-crushing hug, but his attacker was strong enough to keep him in place. No, everything except for this. Issei, save me, he cried helplessly to his brother. Issei, knowing just how this new person was dangerous, stood in place, hoping she wouldn't pick him as her next target. Oni-chan, that's mean. How could you say something like about your cute little sister, like she was some kind of monster? Especially after she hadn't seen you in such a long time. The bullet spoke, raising herself a little, revealing that she was in fact a girl around their age, with unruly snowy hair reaching to the middle of her back, covering her innocent-looking face and moderate chest. The girl was wearing a loose white shirt and blue shorts, giving her a somewhat scruffy appearance. Izu, get off me. Someone take her away. Wait, what are you? No, stay away from my ears. Help. Septimus' moves became more desperate as sensed girl's hand moving toward his head. His pleas fell on deaf ears, as the girl without a care scratched his cat ears, pun intended. Feeling his strength leaving him, Septimus resigned himself to his humiliating fate, and unwillingly he let out a faint purr at the treatment. Izuna, let go of your brother. The stoic voice stopped the albino in her tracks. Hopping a little on the now purring guy, she tilted her head a little to its source, revealing her mismatched eyes, left being red and her right was silver. Mo. Let me play with Sep-nichan a little more. Please. Izuna pouted and made puppy eyes. No, get off of him. The girl entered the corridor with an impassive expression, but her emerald eyes hid a smile as if this situation was something she missed much. Not that she would ever admit it. The girl was tall, same height as Septimus, with well-endowed figure and short blonde hair that reached her shoulders with pink ends, wearing casual green blouse and jeans. Welcome home, Sep, eyes. Alright, Nei-chan. Reluctantly she released her brother, jumping on her legs, leaving the poor black-haired boy with a destroyed pride on the floor. When she finally noticed Issei, her mood did a 180-degree turn and with sparkling eyes jumped at him. Oni-chan. Izuna's new target stumbled back, terrified that he was next in line for his sister's greeting. The energetic girl was stopped mid-air by the older blonde. Without a word, Issei's savior grabbed the albino by the collar, fully expecting this. With a relieved sigh, Issei waved to both of them, keeping a safe distance just for sure. Hello Izuna, Elaine. Getting himself from the floor and fixing his clothes, Septimus coughed, trying to gather pieces of his dignity. Yeah, hi Ella. Have I ever told you that you're my favorite older sister? I'm your only older sister. She just shook her head at her siblings' antics and strengthened her hold on the wriggling girl. Let me go. Let me show my Oni-chan how much I missed him. Izuna cried and doubled her efforts, earning a tired sigh from her sister, fearful look from Issei and vengeful smile from Septimus. Can you tone down? And boys, since you're finally here, please help your sisters take their boxes to the rooms. Their mother's voice rang from the kitchen, stopping the lively girl and making her adopt an apologetic look. "Sorry, Oka-san," they apologized in perfect synchronization. As Izuna calmed down, Elaine released her sister, who landed with a soft yelp. "Meanie," she hummed, irritated, giving the older girl an angry face. But when Issei patted her head, it was quickly replaced with an innocent smile and happy purring. She looked at Septimus with half-lidded eyes, who was caressing his ears lightly after the rough treatment. He got her silent plea to pet her too, but he walked away with his tail swishing back and forth. The group moved to the kitchen, where their parents and last sister sat. "Hello Oka-san, Oto-san. Hi Marana." Both teens greeted everyone. Marana sat there eating. She smiled and waved back to both boys. She was a beautiful girl with warm gray eyes, long auburn hair and a calm smile. Her attire consisted of black sister outfit hugging her impressive figure and a cross hanging around her neck. Seeing the cross made the newly reincarnated devils wince in slight pain, which caught the attention of others in the room. The two brothers looked at each other. Both knew that they couldn't avoid it, and taking deep breath, Issei prepared himself for a long talk. "Let's sit, it will take some time to explain everything." After an hour of recalling past events, except for a few, like a certain princess in someone's bed or them almost starting a fight with the same princess. The whole family sat quietly in the living room. Everyone was mulling over the news and what it meant for their future. The first one to break the silence was Mrs. Hyodo. "If I understand correctly, your new girlfriend turned out to be fallen angel. That was sent here to kill you. Then when Septimus came there to save you, Rainier showed up and stabbed him, allowing them to escape and the devil reincarnating you. Then the devil showed up here in the morning, informed you that you're devils. You meet her peerage, she introduced you to them and you revealed who you are and told them about rest of family?" "More or less, except that Kalaturner is more like his ex-girlfriend now, and we just told them that everyone here is part of supernatural without any details," specified Septimus, still little moody after the rough welcome. Seeing as Issei winced at his joke about his girlfriend. Ex-girlfriend. He immediately regretted it. "Sorry. And you're telling me that Azazel, that is supposed to prevent that situations from happening, especially if they're caused by his people, as currently with Norse Pantheon. On some important meeting." Her tone stayed the same, but everyone knew well where it was going. "Why yes. What if they tell someone, even accidentally, about what we're doing here? We still need the appropriate situation to come out to light. The project alone won't be enough to convince others to make peace." Mr. Hyodo stated the issue that weighed on his mind. "I don't think we have to worry about that. Sisters of the Mao are smart and they'll talk before anything to their older siblings. Today, Lucifer-sama and Leviathan-sama will have some family time, but it's safe to say that our daily life is safe," the dragon hybrid assured his father. "And as much as I don't like this because of the whole dying thing, being part of Eris peerage will be useful in convincing those geezers from the 72 pillars to our plan," added Septimus, trying to sweeten the deal and avoid angering their mother. "All right." She stood up and looked at her husband. "Goru, we're going to pay a visit to the Norse gods. And for Azazel's sake, they better really have an important meeting or the Grigori will need a new leader for endangering my children." After that, she started collecting things needed for their travel. Goru, clearly expecting this behavior, calmly finished his coffee and smiled at his wife. "Yes, dear. Remember to take all components to travel to Asgard. We don't want to repeat what happened the last time we were there." He then turned to the younger part of their family. "You know what to do when we're gone. Don't do anything stupid, rash, and don't blow anything up. We'll be in 2 days at most, so wait for us and hope that the meeting is serious." After their father left to help with preparations, the group of teens exchanged worried looks, fully knowing the extent of the potential danger that Azazel was in. "I don't know who has it worse. Uncle Zaz now that Oka-san is after him. Ray-chan since she is mind-controlled, Sep Nichan and Is Nichan because they died yesterday. Or me, since Sep Nichan doesn't want to feed me." Izuna said straight out of the blue, doing her best to make the black-haired Yukai feed her with a cute face. "I'm not doing this, so leave me alone," he immediately cut her, ignoring her whimpers. Right then they've heard the sound of teleportation, meaning that their parents left. Both males visibly relaxed at that sound, sinking more into their seats. "All right, it could definitely be worse. Actually, nothing happened to us, so I'd say she took the news remarkably well. The brown-haired teen turned to his brother. Nothing happened to us, but I'm curious if Azazel will be as fortunate. But hey, as long as it's not me that's on another end of Ka-san's ire, I'm happy. I know what we need to do. Let's throw a party to celebrate our reunion, suddenly shouted the white-haired girl just a few seconds after that. No. But the rest of household instantly shot down her idea. You're no fun. But when Oni-chan comes back and our family is again complete, we're doing one. No discussion. After that, she got back to staring at Septimus. Issei, could you help me with last few boxes? Elaine asked her sibling casually. Of course. The brown-haired boy instantly agreed, eager to help his sister. After 15 minutes of moving things to girls' rooms, Issei came back to living room to watch some TV. But as he was about to enter, he saw Marana giggling and Septimus feeding the beaming Izuna, who was seated on his lap and played with his tail. Not a word. Septimus growled to his brother in low voice through their connection. DXD. The next day, both teens were on their way to the school. Only two of them because their sisters had to wait for some paperwork to be done before they could go back to school. Eyes, go on by yourself. I have to stop by a shop and buy that box of sweets for my new shield. Or better make it 2 for that scare we gave her. And something for Akano senpai. But for those, you're paying too. Black-haired teen suggested. Good idea. We still have some time, so that won't be a problem. See ya. Issei fully agreed to the idea. After seeing Septimus strolling the other way, he changed his mind about going straight to the school and decided to relax a little in the nearby park. While he was sitting on a bench, thinking about every crazy thing that happened to him just yesterday, an abrupt sound brought him back to reality. Thud, owie. His eyes were introduced to pearly white panties with green stripes that were on a nun. Another chapter ends, another occasion for me to talk. In the next one, there will finally be an opportunity to see how both brothers fighting. Besides that, I'll just leave here my opinion that some of this season's anime are great, with Reincarnated Slime and Bunny Girl Senpai being the best of them. Leave a review, fav and follow, then review again just because. And see you in next chapter. First, previous ch3 of 13. Next, chapter 4 sits in weird position before the laptop and thinks about something to put here. Nope, nothing comes to my mind. Have a good reading. Beated by Laragas. Albion out loud, telepathically. Diedrich out loud, telepathically, Electric and others. Green stripes. Issei's eyes instinctively registered and burned inside his mind the image of the young nun's underwear. He shook his head and quickly helped the poor girl get up. Are you all right? He was genuinely concerned about her, that fall looked really painful. When the girl in the habit looked up and into his brown eyes, he immediately admitted that she was a real beauty. With long golden hair and fair skin, she easily fit into most straight men preferences, even if for Issei she could be a little bigger around the chest. Do you speak Italian? Her shy voice was full of hope that she finally found someone in this country who could understand her. You could say that. The brunette gave her a vague answer. Explaining the whole deal with him being a devil and can understand every spoken language would end up with too much of a trouble for such an early hour. The sad look in her eyes immediately made him want to hug her and protect her, but he restrained himself. Anyo. I've been appointed to the church here, but I don't know Japanese that well and I got lost and now I don't know how to get there. Could you please help me? She asked timidly. There is one right outside of town, I can take you there, but it's been abandoned for years now. Are you sure that you're in the right town? The teenager asked, but slowly he started to have suspicions about the purpose of her presence here. Why yes. Thank you. The Lord must have sent you here as an answer to my prayers. A smile graced her face, making her even cuter than before. Not a problem. My name is Issei Hyodo, but everyone calls me Eyes. Here, let me help you. The irony of her statement didn't escape the dragon hybrid as he smiled to the nun and took her traveling bag, ignoring the pain in his head. My name is Asia Argento. Thank you very much, Mr. Issei. Please, just Eyes. Okay, Mr. Eyes. Why do I suddenly feel old? DXD, I've led her close to the church. I used the excuse that I needed to rush back to school. For sure the fallen angels made their base there. I could smell them from a distance. After lessons, Issei sat on one of the couches in the club with the rest of members, explaining his morning adventure with the nun. She showed him her sacred gear when she healed a young boy and when they talked about her past in the church. He admitted that one of his sisters was a sister too. Now that was redundant. It's really sad that she was excommunicated, especially for something as harmless as healing a devil, but we can't help her now. Besides, the Grigori takes care of sacred gear users and ex-members of the church, so she should be taken good care of there," said Rias while she ate some chocolates. "And don't forget that we can't make our move just yet. It's too bad that now they will know that you're alive, and by extend me too. But with that, we can't do much more until Azazel gives the go signal. I really hate all of this, but it's better than listening later after we killed someone we shouldn't or something," Septimus added as 2 cents from his place, also eating some sweets from the box. After some thought, he bought boxes as an apology and a welcome gift to everyone, with additional for Kaneko as payment for protecting him from the sadistic queen if she got too close. "That's the worry for another day. I wanted to give you your first job as a devils today, but we got an order from the Archduke to exterminate a stray devil that showed up here, so it will be a good occasion as to show you how we fight and vice versa. Ready yourselves. We'll be going in 5 minutes. Their king announced, happy inside to finally see what the new members of her family were capable of. She hoped that they would be her trump card to win her freedom. Of course, she loved all her servants, both old and new, but these two had something in them that made her senses twitch, in a good way. A few minutes later, almost everyone stood in the center of the room where a big magic circle was drawn, ready to teleport as Rias went over to the Hyodo bros. "Give me your hands." When both of them complied, she quickly wrote on each palm a small magic circle. "There, now you can use my family's teleportation circles, perform contracts and are officially recognized as part of the Gremory household. Now come, time for your first stray hunt." "Actually, it's not our first stray hunt. We've got some of those before, am I right, Sep? There were always some that caused trouble wherever we appeared." Issei spoke as he entered the circle. "Yeah, you could say. But for once, I'm actually grateful for this. We will see how rusty you've become for these 3 years." Septimus followed him inside, stretching his arms and cracking his neck. The whole group was engulfed in a red light, and after a few seconds, they appeared next to an abandoned warehouse with an obscure aura around it. As the night air hit them, the 2 Nekomatas and 1 dragon deeply inhaled and grimaced. "Smell of blood," said Kaneko, covering her nose, "and sex," added Issei, and did the same. Septimus stood there for a moment, sniffing around with closed eyes and clear disgust on his face. 4 fresh distinctive scents, most likely 2 males and 2 females. The females feel like devils. With this cheap horror scenery, I don't even want to think what shit happened here. Akeno looked surprised. 2 strays? Archduke told us only about 1. This got her a neutral shrug from the black-haired teen. "I don't know, I'm just saying I what smell here. What I know, however, is to always follow the nose, so better be on your guard." Rias stood there, thinking about the unexpected turn of events and their next move. "All right, everyone. If there's a risk of it being an ambush, then we have to be careful. Ise-kun, Sep-kun, if only 1 stray will appear, then you will look for the second and won't allow her to hurt any of us while we fight. If the second does come out, then you both engage it while we kill the other." She explained her plan to the group. "Hi, Bucko. Hi, Senpei." They slowly opened the doors, the foul stench making everyone recoil. Looking for any sign of the stray devils, they slowly moved forward. Everyone felt a wicked presence in the building circling around them in the shadows without any sound. "I smell something disgusting, but I also smell something delicious. I wonder, is it sour, or is it sweet? Stray devil visor, by the orders of the Archduke, we're here to eliminate you for leaving your master's side and rampaging as you please," Rias states to seemingly empty space. Bihibahaha. An inhuman laugh echoed around them, followed shortly by loud steps. A naked, disfigured, female centaur came out of the shadows, wielding 2 spears that glowed with malice. The Gremory group tensed, looking for a weakness to exploit. "You should really be careful walking around like that, letting your boobs hang around without a bra, or else you'll end up with ugly sags. And really, you couldn't make it more grim and dark. I understand the need for mood and all, but it's not so painful to clean and remove the stench, you know." Except for the 2 Hyodos. Everyone looked at them dumbfounded, talking like it was some sort of social meeting, not a hunt for depraved monsters. "Pervert," said Kaneko, reluctantly comparing her developing breasts to that of the stray, her king and queen. Shaking off another weird antic of her pawn and bishop, Rias Gremory gave her servants orders. That's one, Eyes and Sep, stand by and search for the other. Yudo, go. Hi. The blonde knight gripped his sword and launched towards the monster at insane speeds. For the untrained eye, it looked like he vanished, only to reappear with his sword striking at Visor's arms, only to be stopped mere inches by the giant spear. Immediately he vanished again, the second weapon impeded where his chest was a second before. The sword boy is fast, I give him that. His technique is not bad either, but he still has much work before him if he wants to fight in the big league. Diedrich unexpectedly voiced his opinion in both teens' heads. Diedrich, what are you doing here? Asked Issei, following Yuto's movements as he ran around and hit the stray from different angles, every assault barely intercepted. Unconsciously, a lecherous grin spread on his face when every blocked strike made her breasts jiggle. At the same time, the knight didn't even spare them a second glance, focused only on her weapons. I was bored. My host is currently sleeping and her dreams are not that interesting, so I came to you to see what you are doing. The Red Dragon Emperor admitted without any shame. Gya. Leaping over the swing of Visor's beastly leg, Yuto got under her guard and with clean swipe he cut both of her arms, making the horrific woman scream. He can do better, or he has some kind of trick that in his arsenal. Also, it's an honor to be the entertainment of a great, legendary, lazy lizard that doesn't do anything useful. Septimus, whose eyes were jumping between the fight and scanning the room for the second stray, answered. Watch it, little cat. If only I had my body you would be mere seconds away from being eaten. But you don't have, and with your host unable to communicate with you, the most you can do to me is be an annoying distraction. Considering that I had my share of dying for this week and I'd be happy to go without it for the next millennia or two, let me do my task and shut up. Issei had to snort at the situation, where the teenage Yukai scolded the spirit of a being that made gods tremble in fear without even batting an eye. Erg. Visor, enraged with the loss of her arms, turned around, looking for her running opponent. Right then, a little figure attacked her blindside with a strength that made the monster grunt in pain. Whipping her head to her new attacker, the stray spotted Kaneko still holding fist after the hit. Die, midget. With an ear-piercing screech, the centaur-like woman rushed at the small girl, trying to squash the girl with her overwhelming mass. Visor's words seemingly had no effect on the little rook. Yet when the enormous paw with claws tried to hit Kaneko, she met it with her own devastating punch. Her eyes cold enough to send a chill down her opponent's spine. Crunch. The moment they collided, bones of monstrous legs snapped with a sickening sound. Arg! You little… Whatever Stray tried to say was stopped when Kaneko jumped and following after first blow she punched the bigger woman in the stomach so hard that she was sent flying. She has a nice punch. Now, what if she used Tuki with it after some training, nay Sep? Issei turned his eyes from one Nekomata to the other, to see him watching the white-haired girl with caution. Shadows formed around Septimus' hands to disappear seconds later, and in their place was a katana and wakizashi in each hand. Have to remember, never joke about Kaneko-chan's height. Breasts too most likely, not worth the trouble. Muttered the Yukai. Got something on the second stray? Nothing much. I only felt little stir when that beast lost her arms. Me too, but at least we're sure she's here and watching us. Don't drop your guard. I could say the same to you. Bump. The stray fell back onto the ground, seemingly drained of energy. Era, someone's been naughty. Akeno laughed while walking slowly to the fallen enemy. With magic, she changed her attire into Shrine Maiden and raised her hands. Miko. Both Hyodos cried happily at the sight. Bzzzzzzzzzzzt. Ga arrrrh. A giant lightning bolt hit Visor, electrocuting her and sapping the rest of her strength to fight. And this someone needs punishment. Oh ho 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 ho, you can take it, don't you? It will be my master who shall finish you off. Akeno blushed while she licked her lips, as she visibly enjoyed her actions. I fucking told you, shouted terrified the Septimus, taking a step back and crossing swords in a defensive gesture, his previous eagerness for the raven-haired girl's new outfit gone. I was right, she's a sadist that gets off on this. Don't worry, she's only like that when she's fighting. Rias calmed her bishop and walked up to the pitiful pile of smoking remains and her queen. Akeno, stop. Alright, I'll give you this, now I'm scared of Akeno-san too. But doesn't she reminds you of someone who could change attitudes at the drop of a pen? Issei asked offhandedly. He paused. Do you feel that? I'm not getting orgasms torturing my prey, I just kill them. And yes, I do feel that. She'll attack soon when she'll see a chance to kill even one of them. Be ready. His answer made the dragon hybrid gather his power, focusing it mostly on his arms and legs. Ria stood over the half-dead monster and forwarded her hand like Naruto would use a Rasengan. Any last words? Visor barely raised her head and looked the scarlet-haired girl in the eye. Farewell, princess. Visor smirked. Killing intent spiked when Rias gathered her magical energy. There. Both Hyodos observing the room shouted mentally. Without hesitation, Issei burst from his place and with a speed rivaling that of Kiba, he appeared next to his master, catching something flying towards her. Rias looked in shock at her savior. Issei's entire features changed. Red or white scales were seen on his skin where the school uniform didn't cover, only stopping at the base of his neck. Dragon claws where his hands were supposed to be, the sharp nails digging into the projectile that dare harm his master. His eyes were that of a reptile, brown and slitted, while they shone dangerously in the darkness. His teeth were no longer human, for they were as sharp as shark teeth. Oh, you have good instincts, handsome. The projectile that Issei caught was, in fact, a tentacle with black veins that pulsed. The tentacle retracted back into the darkness, where came a slender young woman with purple hair and a bloodstained face. What attracted everyone's attention was that her eyeballs were completely black, with only the pupil being red, and on her back were 6 tentacles like the one that attacked Rias. I'm curious, what do you taste like? Great, another man-eater. Like one cannibal is not enough. Sighed Septimus as he walking next to his brother. The shadows next to him formed a limb similar to that of their enemy and held onto the swords as he put up his headphones and played music. Let's see how much this 3 years softened you up. How about we play around, bro? Standard rules, no offensive magic, no fire or poison breathing. Just skills. He said to the hybrid next to him and took back the swords. Adjusting his grip on the swords, Septimus switched into his Nekomata form. You 1 and 2? What can an attractive girl like me do when there is so much demanded from her? She turned to the black and white-haired boy and asked with an alluring voice, licking some of the blood around her mouth. Sounds good. Let's play. Issei answered, giving his brother quick nod and turned to rest of the group. Leave her to us, bucko. Without any other words or glance, both teens attacked the second stray in perfect synchronization, coming at her from opposite sides. The woman just laughed and blocked it with her tentacles. Both of you at once. I'll be sure to suck you dry. Of your blood. She pushed them back. Oi, lady, stop with the sexy comments, it's not fair with that kind of look. Issei jumped back, his mind distracting him with an interesting situation involving the devil in front of him, without his brother there. And you stop thinking with your dick, idiot, yelled at him Septimus, blocking 2 tentacles, with one of them touching his skin. Arg, those shits are poisonous. He gasped and gained distance between himself and the enemy. Good thing that as the grandson of one of the most poisonous dragons this doesn't even sting. The brown-haired boy again tried to get past the stray's additional limbs and cut her down. Lucky bastard. Looks like little more distance will be useful in this battle. The Yukai grunted under his breath. Then both swords in his hands disappeared in shadows and in their place was a long scythe of the same color. Twirling it in his hands he ran back into the fray and with wide swing, slashed one of the tentacles, cutting it clean off. Take that, bitch. Nyahahaha. You little fuck, I'll rip you apart for that. She roared and shot 2 others at him which he swiftly dodged. Meanwhile, Issei got 2 of the tentacles in his claws and with them, he yanked the woman to himself. Shut up. He roared and sent her flying with a strong headbutt, tearing off the tentacles as she flew. Wait a moment. Did you just say, NYA? Issei asked with disbelief as he dropped the dead limbs. No, Septimus answered quickly. You totally did. Wait till Izuna hears about that. The dragon hybrid shouted through the connection with a loud laugh. Do that and I'll burn your porn collection. The red-eyed woman backed down a little, keeping her remaining tentacles between her and the 2 Hyodos. Seeing this, both males grinned like sharks that just smelled blood. Enough playing around, I'll hold her down, you go for the kill. Issei's telepathic voice was cold and calculated, as he flexed his dragonified hands. No fun can last forever. Let's finish this slut that takes the phrase, eating dicks, too literally. Septimus agreed. Septimus grinned, his eyes shining orange from under the white part of his hair when he twirled his weapon around and took a slow step towards the bloodied woman. The stray leveled her limbs at her cat-like enemy, thinking that he was going to attack. However, following the movements of his weapon, she didn't see for a moment what her second opponent was doing. The little loss of the concentration at his brother's action was all that Issei needed from his enemy. Using the strength of his dragonified legs, he jumped to her tentacles. Gripping two of them and using them like chains, he crashed her into a fourth wall. He pulled her high into the air again, then smashed her into the hard floor. With most of her ribs broken and two of her tentacles held by the boy-turned-monster, the stray weakly stood up and aimed her last free tentacle at his face. It was a desperate attack that should have guaranteed that at least one of them be brought down with her, but Issei violently turned his head right before her limb reached him and bit deeply into it, keeping her immovable. Now. At Issei's signal, Septimus moved faster than any other fighter today. Septimus ran diagonally, his feet touching the air instead of the ground. Quickly gaining speed and height, he bounced off the same invisible surface that he was running on, diving towards the stray. His head bobbing to the rhythm of the song in his earphones, his scythe trailing behind him, Septimus gave a soundless yell as he beheaded the pinned woman, who could only watch her death approaching. Smash, you could be the corpse and I could be the killer. If I could be the devil, you could be the sinner. Quite fit for the situation, don't you think? Septimus sang as he rose from his landing, hanging his weapon over his shoulder. Taking off his headphones, he turned to rest of their peerage that watched the whole fight from a safe distance. As second stray's corpse was behind him, he couldn't see that the remaining tentacles were sucked back into the body that started swelling fast. Issei, on the other hand, noticed what was happening and quickly conjured magic circle to shield himself. Septimus, said Teen, immediately turned toward his brother, his scythe in a defensive position ready to block any attack. Wah! Boom! The swelled body exploded and astonished the male Nekomata. Said Nekomata could only manage to shield his face with arms before the mass of gore hit him. Not moving for few seconds, he stared at Issei, safe and clean behind his shield when he was from head to toe covered in blood. What the fucking shit? He yelled and looked at his clothes, taking a quick sniff. Unholy fuck. And here I thought that this room smelled bad. Rias and her group, to their fortune, were far enough to avoid the results of the disgusting explosion and stared speechlessly. They were impressed with the ease that the brothers defeated the stray devil, especially if they were holding back and were just about to praise them when unexpectedly, the said stray's body erupted. You're fortunate that you cut off half of those tentacles, or her blood would be just as toxic as they were. It is an old technique, potent in battle and useful to take an enemy down even when defeated. Diedrich spoke out, slightly startling the devils. And you haven't shared this with us before because? Asked Issei as Septimus perked up from checking his arm, that was burned from the previous contact with the poison. I recalled it only after she exploded. As I said, it's an old technique and it's been ages since the last time I saw it. The old dragon said apologetically. I'm going to kill him. I'll find his host, kill her, then do the same with the next and repeat it until I find some way to destroy his sacred gear. Septimus spoke with a low voice as he started leaking malicious aura that seemed to draw nearby shadows. Regaining her composure, Rias gained everyone's attention. Good job, especially you, Kaneko-chan, Aiz-kun and Sep-kun, with detecting the second stray devil. You're free to go and see you tomorrow. Thank you, bucko. See you tomorrow, said Issei and teleported back home with Septimus. As the light from their circle died down, Akeno walked to her king. They're strong, insanely even, but do you think that they stand a chance against Riser? The crimson-haired devil turned to her friend with a sad smile. They have to. Those two are my last hope. DXD. Both Hyodos appeared before their house in a red flash, one of them with an expression of pure disgust and the second looking at him with pity. I need a long shower, like an hour or more. Then I'll burn those clothes or my nose will kill me, Septimus said as he opened doors. Sep Nichan, Aiz Nichan, welcome home. Elan Nichan cooked her special today. Izuna ran towards them when they entered. With her hair curled and flying behind her, she was about to jump on her brother, but one look at Septimus stopped her in her tracks. Yek, Oni-chan, you stink. Don't come near me. As the girl slowly backed away from him, Septimus grinned widely, seeing a perfect chance for a little payback. What's wrong, Izu-chan? Give your Oni-chan big hug. The teen with orange eyes imitated her voice as he opened his arms and took a step in her direction. No, the younger girl screamed and ran away, her brother following right behind her, laughing like a villain from a cheesy anime series. Issei looked at the speeding duo as he walked inside. His legs and nose immediately guided him to the living room where Elaine and Marana were setting the table. Hey, Ella, Mira. We're back. The Russian nun raised her head and smiled warmly. It's hard to miss. Those two act together like cat and dog, she commented as they heard something crash. And here I thought that cheap jokes are Septimus' domain, said the blonde older sister to her sister, who is in fact a sister, with a soft chuckle. She fixed her hair and turned to Issei. Dad called. It looks like Mom won't hurt Azazel. This meeting turned out to be serious and they will be back tomorrow evening. Great news, Issei said and looked hungrily at the food. Iya, ah, mawahahahaha. Right then, a high-pitched scream of terror from a certain white-haired girl spread throughout the household, telling everyone that her brother had seized her, which was followed by a cheerful laugh from the living room. Writing those family parts is by far my favorite thing in this story. But at the same time I'm grateful I have only one younger brother. I wouldn't survive in a family with 5 siblings. I'd go nuts in a minute. Read, review and keep story alive by keeping me motivated with your insight. First, previous ch4 of 13 next.